Right now on Midday, we're now learning that one of the drivers in that crash that left the semi-truck dangling over the 2nd Street Bridge is now facing charges. And overnight, 3 separate incidents in Louisville that left 1 person hurt and 2 dead. And the Derby Museum put on their own fashion show ahead of Derby 150. We're going to show you what hit the runway. It's all coming up right here on Midday.
With breaking news happening now, this is a Wave News Alert.
And we thank you for joining us here on Wave News Midday. I'm Myra Ansari. We begin with the Wave News Alert. Louisville Metro Police have cited the pickup driver who caused a multi-vehicle crash on the Clark Memorial Bridge that left a semi-truck dangling over the edge. 24-year-old Trevor Branham of Jeffersonville is charged with 4 counts of first-degree wanton endangerment and operating on a suspended license. The wreck happened March 1st. According to court documents, witnesses saw Branham's pickup speeding on the bridge, weaving in and out of traffic before he hit a stalled vehicle stopped in the right lane. It says that Branham lost control, crossing into oncoming traffic, hitting a semi-truck, and then leading to that dramatic rescue of the driver. 2 people in another vehicle, they were also hurt. No update on how they're doing. Police say that Branham's license was suspended at the time of the crash, and he had a pending driving while suspended charge out of Indiana. Wave News reporter Brandon Spencer is following this story for us today. He's going to have much more on Wave News at 5 and 6. All right, let's get to your forecast now with meteorologist Brian Good. We are starting the work week off, and Brian, things are going to change a little bit later. We're talking about rain and some strong wind. You
got it. Certainly going to get everyone's attention as we get into the next 12 to 24 hours. So heads up on that. At the moment, we had a lot of blue sky this morning. Clouds starting to fill back in for the midday hour, but still very, very pleasant out. We've got temperatures crossing into the 60s. We have a good chance to get into the 70s, perhaps even mid-70s in some areas for this afternoon, despite the increase in clouds. One way to get there, of course, will be the strong south wind. It helps you out when it comes to getting into warm weather, but it can work against you when it comes to 2 things. 1, the fire danger, and 2, of course, being some strong wind gusts that'll move through. The wind's quite strong just west of us. Owensboro and Evansville both have been between 30 and 40 miles per hour. Humidity in Louisville is down to 26%. Why does that matter? Well, there will be an elevated fire danger risk today, especially along and east of I-65 heading toward I-75. We'll be watching that as those values drop, so no outdoor burning today. If you can hold off on that until we get some rain in, get this wind out of here. The radar's quiet, and it should stay quiet for the next several hours. If you have any plans this afternoon, you'll be fine on that side of things. It's a different story to the west. Look at all the rain and thunderstorms and all the big-time snow in the plains here. This is a large storm system with a severe weather outbreak likely for tonight across areas of Louisiana into Mississippi. We will get the much tamer version of that, but still, again, some strong winds will accompany it. So the next 12 hours, we'll see that temperature get up to the low to mid-70s and staying mild as we head into the overnight hours for tonight. We'll talk about how there is an additional strong storm set up for tomorrow coming up in just a few more minutes, Myra.
All right, thank you so much, Brian. LMPD had a very active night from a deadly shooting to a stabbing and a crash. It all started just after 11 o'clock last night when officers responded to a shooting at the White Castle on the corner of 7th and Algonquin Parkway. Officers got there but didn't find a victim. They were later notified that the victim was on the way to U of L Hospital by private means, but he died on the way there. And less than an hour later, LMPD responded to East Broadway, closer to Brent Street, where they found a man stabbed near the railroad bridge. That's close to Paristown. Officers tried to help the victim while EMS arrived. He was also taken to the hospital, but we're told that he died shortly after arriving. And just a half hour later on I-65 South, 3 vehicles were involved in a crash near the fairgrounds. Police say that several adults were taken to the hospital, one with critical injuries. LMPD's traffic unit is still working to determine the cause of that crash. And no victims have been identified in these incidents yet. A former JCPS coach going before a judge today for a motion hearing. 50-year-old Christopher Morris pleaded not guilty to multiple charges, including sodomy, sexual abuse, and unlawful transactions with minors involving sex acts, according to court documents. Those documents refer to 38 charges, incidents that happened between August of 2012 to May of 2022. A student sued Morris, JCPS, and 3 others claimed that they failed to protect him. The lawsuit claims the abuse started when the student was in 7th grade. It claims Morris groomed him to start a sexual relationship by saying that it would make him a better basketball player. The lawsuit also alleges that the abuse went on for several years while a student played basketball for No Middle School and the Quinn Anvil's basketball team. A judge has set a new court date in the Jamie Knoll investigation. On April 9th, Knoll will be in court to try to explain why he had 2 guns at his home. When setting bond, the judge clearly told Knoll that he was only allowed to have 1 shotgun. But when police executed a search warrant at Knoll's Jeffersonville home earlier this month, they found 2 handguns. Well, today we'll learn what the city plans to do to improve living conditions in Dosker Manor. Wave News has covered the unsanitary conditions and crime and drugs at the apartment complex. The Louisville Metro Housing Authority and the mayor, they'll release plans for needed repairs and stopping crimes at the apartments on East Muhammad Ali Boulevard. Residents will be invited to participate in the planning process, which will include focus groups, workshops, and surveys. The city also plans to offer more supportive services to those living in Dosker Manor starting in May. We're going to find out more about that at 1:45 this afternoon. Happening now, city leaders are announcing more funds going towards affordable housing. Here's a live look. Mayor Craig Greenberg is announcing the grant with federal and local housing officials. The money is going for affordable housing in West Louisville. We're streaming this announcement right now on our social media pages if you'd like to see the full thing. We've also bring you more coverage from this event on air and online. Also today, a heads up for drivers once again crossing the bridges into Indiana or Kentucky. There will be some roadblocks and even a full closure on the Clark Memorial Bridge. It's part of the repairs after a crash sent a semi-truck tearing through a guardrail earlier this month. We told you about it at the top of the hour. Today's work will last from 9 to 3, and during that time, traffic will be cut down to 1 southbound lane so workers can move in equipment. The bridge will be fully closed so they can put the equipment in place, and repairs are expected to be completed by the middle of next month. Well, if you haven't planned out your outfit for the Kentucky Derby, this could give you a little bit of inspiration. Local milliners showed off some of their best pieces at the annual Derby Museum Hat Show on Sunday. And with this year being the 150th, when it comes to fashion, they say anything goes. Wave News reporter Noelle Friel tells us more.
With every color, shape, and style imaginable. Every year, the Derby Museum Hat Show kicks off Derby season with a preview of the latest trends you could expect to see at Churchill Downs.
It's all of the colors, the excitement, the vibes that just really kicks off. Okay, we are just weeks away from Derby.
The show features 5 local milliners who get to show off some of their favorite pieces on the runway. After the show, attendees can meet the milliners, try on some of their designs, and start planning their Derby looks.
We have 5 great milliners bringing all of their pieces that they're ready to share with the public for Derby 150. So not only do we have vendor tables where ladies can try on hats, we can help them match to their outfits, but they also get to see a fabulous runway show.
You could see just about every color combination walking down the runway, with some hats making a literal reference to Derby 150 and the iconic symbols associated with the race, like the rose. The 150th Run for the Roses is expected to bring in a combination of traditional styles and new twists on the historic fashion.
When you're talking about Derby 150, anything goes. We could see a lot of flashbacks to Derby's past. We could see a lot of modern trends that maybe we haven't even thought of yet. So really, for Derby 150, I think people are going to go all out.
The outfits and the hats are just gorgeous. To learn more about the milliners featured in this year's hat show, you can head to our website, wave3.com. Coming up on Midday, today former President Donald Trump faces a deadline to pay nearly $500 million for bond or forfeit property.
All right, well, we don't have an alert day out for later tonight and tomorrow, but we can't rule it out. There is a chance for some strong winds and even some strong thunderstorms in an isolated case as we head into the next 24 hours. I'll explain how this is all going to unfold just on the other side of the break. But first, here's the latest look at your Kentucky Lottery jackpots and Mega Millions at $800 million and the Mega Millions right at $1.1 billion.
The Kentucky Lottery, over $4.8 billion in grants and scholarships.
Oh, hey, I'm your celebrity spokesperson for Zine, the New way to stream local news, sports, and events from all over the country. But Zine speaks for itself. It doesn't need a celebrity spokesperson to tell you to download Zine. Besides, an ex-teen idol like myself might resort to pandering gimmicks. You're too smart for that. Let's cut to the Zine logo before I do some sexy overdramatic ending, huh? Zine. Always local, always free.
The calendar still says March, but the number of movie franchises dominating the box office make it feel like summer. Arthur the King fell to 5th place on ticket sales to $4.4 million. Immaculate came in 4th place with $5.4 million. And Kung Fu Panda 4 slipped 3rd, but $16.8 million gave it a domestic total of $122 million in 17 days. And Dune Part 2 spent its 3rd straight weekend in 2nd place, earning $17.6 million for a domestic total of $233 million. And Ghostbusters Frozen Empire came in 1st place with $45.2 million. Well, looking ahead to May, on Star Wars Day, May the 4th, theaters are planning a marathon of all 9 Star Wars films. Also, the day before, on May the 3rd, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, returns to theaters for its 25th anniversary. You can go to fandango.com to see screenings for that already up, playing at theaters in Louisville, Okolona, and New Albany. I feel like that is right up your alley. Be good.
Yeah, well, it's Derby Day too, so
oh, that's true.
We got to combine it somehow.
Oh, yeah. Well, if folks are watching us and they're thinking something looks a little different, sounds a little different
it's
watching
my hair.
us,
yeah.
It's your hair, and it's me on Midday. But we're so happy about our new graphics that we have. They look great, and a big thank you to our team behind the scenes who's been working so hard at it.
Crew's been working great. Ryan Hoke's been on it with the weather graphics you're about to see here in a second. So everything looks good. Always nice to have a little bit of that fresh and look and new ways that we can use tools here to communicate with you guys, right? Let's start off with the active weather we're going to see right on cue for a new look, right? To have some active weather come our way. Now, the severe risk is not very high, but there is quite a bit of rain and wind that'll be associated with the system moving through. Anytime you got a lot of wind energy moving into your backyard, you've got to pay attention to all the other elements as well. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing as we head to the next 12 to 24 hours. So the wind is piece number 1. The rain will be piece number 2. That'll be late tonight into early on Tuesday. And then while there is a storm chance tomorrow afternoon, the stormy weather does look like it will come back into play for the holiday weekend, especially the latter half of the holiday weekend. Not the best of news there, but it's still early. It's only Monday. A lot could still change. In the short term, we have this wind advisory that is out, kicks in actually 8 o'clock tonight, through up much of the day on Tuesday for the strong wind gusts that are moving through wave country, especially west of 65. That potential looks a little higher, but you can see the problem here with these gusts getting over 40 miles per hour. In some cases, we could get a few 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and that may come with even out thunderstorms. Even a band of showers can get us to that level. I don't see it being widespread right now and constantly through the whole night, but I do think a few surges to that level are certainly on the table, and the data for midday is still rolling in with that type of theme. Right now, we got a 29 gust at Ollie International, 29 in Jasper as well, 25 as you head into Seymour. So that's something we'll be watching tonight will be the wind. The second, of course, should be the rain, but we got some time. A dry afternoon is already in place, and we'll end up with a rain chance. It'll skyrocket very close to the 11 o'clock news tonight, and certainly while you're trying to sleep for the overnight hours. I'll explain how we'll get to that. We'll start with a live look there into downtown from the harbors in Jeffersonville, showing the increase in clouds as our storm system is getting its act together, but it's still allowing, again, for dry air to win for today. 61 in Louisville, 62 into Salem. Good chance to get into the 70s for this afternoon. The radar is quiet, as expected. That will be the case for the remainder of the afternoon period, even though the clouds will continue to flow in from the south and west. But, boy, it's much different seeing back into areas of the Ozarks, into Texas, with a big wall here of rain and wind, and that's the wall of rain that will arrive around the 11 o'clock news tonight. It will take some time because the flow is heading more north than it is east, so that allows for a slower arrival to get here. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, it's the drop heading all the way down to Texas with cold and snow. It's been the big story there. Your severe risk for tonight is going to be taking place in the deep south. This will be an active setup. It's going to get a lot of national headlines, but we will be on the weaker version of that when it rolls in here later on for tonight. The next 12 hours will feature that rain chance again kicking in as we head into about mid to late evening and skyrocketing for the overnight hours before it calms down. Here's your entire 10-day. Let me slide out of the way so you can see all 10. Notice we got that warm day coming up tomorrow at 70, and then we clear things out Wednesday and Thursday. Actually, for the rest of the week, it looks quiet. But notice a lot of lightning and thunder as we get into Easter Sunday and next week. This looks to be a stormy period we'll need to watch in the extended. This afternoon, 75, the expected high. We'll get into your Tuesday. We'll start the radar off early in the overnight hours with that wall of rain moving in. Some wind gusts could be strong, but here's the thing. The actual coverage of rain should decrease through sunrise. I don't think we're going to see a lot of rain out of this. I think we'll get something out of it, but a heavy rainfall event is unlikely. Despite what the radar may look like tonight to our west, this should decrease. Now, as we head toward mid-morning, the problem with that is that while the rain will stay lit up to the east of Kentucky, we could see enough partly sunny skies develop around midday on Tuesday for a few storms that will try to fire very close to southern Indiana and central Kentucky. Any one of these small, tiny storms that form tomorrow afternoon could be briefly strong. We'll need to watch that. And then we're done with this system, and then we'll calm things down. So the rain chance overall will be the highest during the overnight, early morning hours, a break, and then there's that afternoon window we'll need to watch. Severe potential is there. It's a low wind risk, a marginal, level 1 out of 5. I'll give it roughly 1 to 5 p.m., and we'll let you know if we need to extend that or not a little later in time. But again, Wednesday and Thursday look good. I'll talk more about the setup for Easter Sunday into next week coming up in the next half hour, Myra.
All right. Thanks so much, Brian.
Sure.
New here on Midday, 3 of the 4 suspects in the attacks on Moscow's concert hall on Friday pled guilty in court. Russian authorities arrested 4 suspected attackers on Saturday. 7 more were detained. 2 suspects were brought into the Moscow District Court Sunday night. Reports identified the 4 alleged gunmen as citizens of Tajikistan. The terror group ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack on Moscow's concert hall on Friday. The attack killed more than 130 people and left many more injured. Meanwhile, the memorial continues to grow. Russian President Vladimir Putin declared a national day of mourning, and flags were half-staffed throughout the country. Israel plans to block food from entering Gaza. The United Nations Relief Works Agency reported that the country informed them that they would no longer approve any aid convoys to the northern part of the Strip. The agency hasn't been able to deliver food to Palestinians for 2 months. Several donor countries withdrew support from the UNRWA after Israel alleged some of their staff members participated in the October 7th Hamas attacks. But they never provided any evidence, and since then, some countries have resumed funding. Today is the deadline for former President Donald Trump to post a more than $450 million appeal bond in New York or face the possibility of property being seized. His lawyer said coming up with that bond is practically impossible. NBC's Bree Jackson is in Washington with more on the former president's legal battles.
The clock is ticking for former President Trump to secure more than $450 million or face consequences from New York's Attorney General.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, we will ask the judge to seize his assets.
Some of the former president's iconic properties could be seized.
This is not some immediate process where Tish James is going to walk into 40 Wall Street on Tuesday and change the locks or something like that.
Trump claims money is not the problem.
We have a great company, but they want to take it away.
He also aired his grievances on Truth Social, criticizing the Attorney General's record on violent crime while claiming he did absolutely nothing wrong. On Sunday, the former Republican National Committee chair defended efforts to use RNC donations to pay off Trump's legal bills.
If they feel strongly to support his legal bills, then they have every right to do so. And I think he's being very open that they're helping with his legal bills.
Democrats are blasting the presumptive GOP presidential nominee's legal woes. Republicans are coming to his defense.
This is not about party. This is not about politics. This is about corruption and criminality.
And President Trump is actually gaining popularity because they're just focusing on trying to go after him.
Trump has called the case against him election interference and is seeking a last-minute reprieve from an appeals court to prevent his assets from being seized.
And today, Trump will be in court for a hearing today over the alleged scheme to cover up hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Trump has pleaded not guilty. Still ahead here on Midday. It's springtime and it's soccer season. We're going to have a look at how teams are kicking off. The West Louisville Soccer Club kicked off their spring season. This year will be their first year playing at the Norton Healthcare Sports and Learning Center. The program is meant to introduce kids to the West End, to the sport, while also giving some guidance to other walks of life. We talked to some of the coaches about how rewarding the experience is.
They're making new friends and just having all these new opportunities that we can assist with. That's my favorite part.
And just watching their love for the game grow progressively. They have this sparkle in their eyes every time we go to practice. They're so excited to learn. They learn so quickly just because I think they have a passion for the game.
And about 300 boys and girls from West Louisville are in the program. Lou City kicked off their home opener celebrating a milestone. The 2024 marks their 10th anniversary in Louisville. Wave News reporter Marissa Burke introduces us to some excited Lou City fans.
Fans displayed a decade of dedication as they lined the gates of Lynn Family Stadium. Saturday, Lou City kicked off their 10th season, a milestone some fans are excited to celebrate.
Well, since 2015, been waiting for Lou City to reprise their role as a soccer city, and 10 years later, we are rocking it. 2 stars, looking for our 3rd.
Before the boys in purple make a run for another championship, the first 2,000 fans walked away with the free Lou City pennant. The 10th anniversary season reminds fans of their first Lou City game.
In 2017, my daughter said, "Hey, Dad, I know you played soccer for 30 years. You know, you want to go to some Louisville City games," and I fell in love.
John wears his star sunglasses to represent Lou City's 2 championships. Fans are optimistic about what's ahead in their 10th season.
I just see that they just signed another Lou City Academy player, so I love seeing these youngsters roll out. Waiting to see Brian Ownby come back out. I know he's out for a little bit, but hey, I'm just ready to watch more football in this area.
All around Lynn Family Stadium, Lou City is seen as royalty. Fans wear their purple proudly as a sign of loyalty. Marissa Burke, Wave News.
City would end up beating the Pittsburgh Riverhounds 3-1. Coming up later here on Wave News Midday, one Kentucky organization is providing screenings for Colon Cancer Awareness Month. Why many say that getting screened saved them. And as the legislative session starts to wrap up in Frankfort, we're going to look at some of the bills that could be discussed today.
Now, Wave News Midday.
And thanks for staying with us here on Wave News Midday. I'm Myra Ansari in for Shannon Kogan today. Kentucky lawmakers are getting ready to wrap up the legislative session with less than 3 weeks on the clock, but there are still some major bills that they are looking to pass. Several are expected to be discussed today. Only 4 days are left for the General Assembly to get the bills sent to the governor. Of hundreds of bills filed, only 6 have become law. A new 2-year state budget is one of the top proposals that still needs approval. Both House and Senate members say that they expect major movement on the budget. And another bill expected to be discussed today is one that could change COVID vaccine requirements in the workplace. Senate Bill 295 would not require people to get the COVID vaccine in schools, businesses, and hospitals. Supporters of the bill say that the COVID-19 vaccine has done more harm than good, saying that it's causing sudden deaths in young Americans. But research has shown people receiving COVID vaccines are no greater risk of death from non-COVID causes.
It is just unnecessary right now, and the data is starting to show very clearly there's no reason to require this vaccine.
I worry when we have these really broad pieces of legislation that aren't really rooted in what the public health community is telling us or what the medical community is telling us.
And a measure regulating what is and is not a service animal is headed to the Senate. House Bill 335 defines a service animal as one that has been individually trained to work or perform tasks for somebody with disabilities. And the person who owns a service animal must also be going to therapy at a healthcare provider or a psychologist. And a companion, in comparison, an emotional support animal would be considered one that may provide support or alleviate the symptoms of a person's condition. And bills that impact teacher pay and sick leave will also be discussed in committee today. Senate Bill 4 relates to sick leave for members of the teachers' retirement system. Senate Bill 261 covers state employee health insurance, and Senate Bill 290 impact hiring and firing of state personnel. All three passed the Senate and are expected to be brought up in a House committee. Also expected to be on the table today, a bill to let parents or representative of a child have access to their child's medical records. It's also known as House Bill 174. The child must be under 18 years old, and the bill would not apply to records protected through HIPAA or other state and federal laws. The Senate committee proposed a change to the bill that is to be further discussed today. And others that have drawn a lot of attention but still in limbo, Senate Bill 147, which would prevent adult-oriented businesses from being in areas close to children. The language of the bill includes drag shows. Senate Bill 20, which would clear the way for juveniles to stand trial as adults if they are at least 15 years old and used a gun during certain serious crimes. House Bill 5, also known as the Safer Kentucky Act, which would make widespread changes to the criminal justice system. The bill is in House Rules Committee after some late changes by the Senate. Lawmakers will meet for 4 days this week, and on Thursday they'll also break for a veto session, which will give time for the governor to sign or veto a number of bills. Lawmakers will then have a chance to override any vetoes. Well, Baptist Health is encouraging people to get colon screenings. They say that colon cancer is more common in Kentucky than any other state, and it's more important now than ever before to get checked. Jessica Umbro has a report from Lexington.
Get colon cancer screening. It saves your life.
It's Colon Cancer Awareness Month, and Baptist Health Lexington wants to encourage early detection. On Sunday, they brought doctors to a health fair, helping people learn about the disease.
When you do the screenings appropriately, the vast majority of people catch their cancer at a very early stage that oftentimes can be treated with minimally invasive techniques.
Lexington churches were among the groups to make their way to the STEAM Academy. For some, the message hit close to home.
If I didn't have that screening and they had not detected that polyp that was in me, it had already been in there nearly 5 years. It was soon to turn cancerous.
And even though people are typically advised to get screened for colon cancer at 45 years old, it can impact people of all ages.
My friend said that her friend got a screening and she got cancer, so I really feel bad for my friend's friend, and I really wanted to give her some of the stuff that I got from this place.
For some, motivation from others can be the push to get screened as well.
I went on and got it done, and because my mom, that was my initial
You know, if she could do it, I could do it. And I was one of those ones that just kept putting it off, and then I was like, they're pressing me. So I went on and got it done. Thank God everything was clear and it wasn't that bad.
A key takeaway?
Don't just say, well, I'm not 45 yet. Listen to your body. It's usually pretty good at talking to you.
And some Baptist Health locations in Louisville, they'll be hosting screenings this week. Baptist Health Louisville is hosting a colon cancer screening this Saturday at Beulah Church Farmers Market from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And Baptist Health Hardin will also host one as well this Wednesday from 9 until noon at the Nelson County Fiscal Court. Both are free to attend. A new device could help save lives in Floyd County. Traditionally, CPR compressions are done by hand, but a new machine does it all by itself. Lucas, which stands for Lund University Cardiac Assist System, is a device that provides automatic chest compressions to a patient. This prevents strain on first responders and keeps their hands free to help more people. During a cardiac arrest, there is a high risk of losing oxygen to the brain, and officials say that the device can perform compressions for 45 minutes nonstop, something that's very strenuous for a person to do.
There's a concern during prolonged cardiac arrest for responder fatigue, and as time goes on, you give or provide, lower quality compressions. So the Lucas device takes all of that out of the equation.
And all three of the New Albany's AmeriPro ambulances will have one of these devices. Crews have completed their training and they're ready to be used when needed. Some JCPS elementary school students are helping others in our community. Students at Bowen Elementary School created cool-down sensory kits. These were designed to help kids dealing with anxiety or high stress. So this all came as part of a state project that the kids were designing. The kits were originally designed for classrooms, but they took them to local hospitals for their waiting room. And at least 50 kits were made, with 100 more ordered. And some Bowen Elementary students, they are going to be delivering some of those kits to a family court judge this afternoon. Coming up on Midday, JCPS is considering new transportation plans. We're going to hear how some are feeling about the options on the table.
And I'll have an update on the updated pollen count here into Wave Country. And 2 weeks from today is the big countdown to the big celestial events. Some latest thoughts on what to expect as we head toward the great American solar eclipse coming up after the break.
Here's a look at the current Kentucky Lottery jackpots. The Kentucky Lottery, over $4.8 billion in grants and scholarships.
All right, let's get to your forecast now with meteorologist Brian Good. You were in the weather garden just a few seconds ago. You're still there now. And when you were there, Brian, all I could notice were those beautiful tulips there behind you. They're stunning.
They are really popping in. They've really opened up over the past weekend here. So they are at their max level here for the next couple of weeks. So perfect timing as we continue on to the month of April coming up. Should be a very pretty start here to the month, especially here into the weather garden. Of course, the hidden thing that these things can do, of course, some of the pollen that may catch you off guard the next couple of days, especially the gusty winds today. So make sure you keep those allergy meds handy. But no offense, tulips. I know you got to do your thing. All right, let's get you outside and we'll walk you through the weather setup as we hit the next couple of weeks. All right, a lot going on, obviously. We've got the cloudy sky now overhead. Don't expect much in the way of blue for the rest of the afternoon, but still with enough south wind, that's going to really allow for a very warm setup. It is, of course, the last Monday period of the month of March, but in 2 weeks, we are talking about the Great American Solar Eclipse. And in 2 weeks, the weather pattern is going to be absolutely crucial in how that will play out for us, of course, as we head into that April 8th at around 3:06, 3:07 p.m. That's going to be the max point along the path of totality, again, going from Mexico all the way to Niagara Falls into the northeast. In the wave country, roughly Scottsburg and points north in that path of totality. 90% coverage south of that line, including here in Louisville, but you really need to be in that 100%. As far as the weather goes, we're not ready yet to give an official forecast for the 8th of April. We got a while to do that, but I will tell you the storm track still looks active. So the odds of trying to get a clear patch are looking rather slim for this event right now, but fingers crossed, things can easily change. In the meantime, we're tracking a pollen count, and that is beautiful as a celestial event, of course. Tree pollen grasses, yes, they'll be up today, and the rain tonight and early tomorrow will reset us, but they will come back as this time of the year always is the case. Pollen count spikes quickly after a rain event, and we'll likely get back to that by Wednesday and Thursday of this week. I have in weather garden right now. We've got 62. Again, very comfortable out. I can feel the wind every once in a while. I'm a bit sheltered where I'm at, but the wind gusts could easily get up there over 35 miles per hour in a few cases this afternoon. So be aware of that. Much stronger wind overnight tonight. Radar is at least quiet, so that's good. It's just more of a cloudy setup. We're not moving through, so that's going to be the main challenge in the next 6 hours. Will be just the forecast highs today. Otherwise, tonight, that wall of rain and wind back into areas of Missouri into Texas. That's what's going to march in our direction for later on tonight, giving us a strong wind gusts. You see the outlook here. This is starting at about 8 o'clock when the wind advisory kicks in through about the first part there of your Tuesday. So while you're asleep tonight, some of these rain bands moving in, they likely will not contain even thunder. But you will likely hear the wind roaring outside as they pass on through. Now, a setup like this, usually for the overnight, we end up with a bit of a shield, if you will, to protect us from the really strong winds getting down to the tree line or below. That may be the case in some areas. That's why we do not have anything higher than just a wind advisory, and we don't have an alert date yet for this particular wind event for that very reason. If we were to get a signal that is going to change, and some of those really strong winds could make it below the tree line, that would change our tone as well for the overnight. But right now, we're not to that level. Rain certainly will increase those wait into the overnight hours. That wall moves through. Again, not much in the way of thunder. At the moment, rainfall amounts look to be roughly about 1/4 of an inch, some of you far less than that. So it looks like a lot of rain, but in reality, it will likely be a little bit tamer than some of the numbers you're seeing. And as we head toward early on Tuesday, it's really about the rain getting out of here early in the day. We go partly sunny, but we're not done with the storm system yet. There is another chance for a brief window of thunderstorms to pop in the afternoon. Where would that be, though? Will it be toward Cincinnati? Will it be Frankfort? Could it be Louisville or even back toward Paoli? That's the area we've got to figure out for tomorrow when that little line will try to form. Could briefly turn strong, if not severe. Wouldn't last very long. It'll jet to the east quickly, and then we're done with that storm system altogether. As far as your rain chances go for the overnight hours, we spike them up, certainly early in the day on Tuesday. We have that break in the morning as we go, partly cloudy by late morning, near this time, in fact. And then we have that 40% to cover the thunderstorms that could fire Tuesday afternoon. Again, it could be briefly strong. The severe risk is there. It's a low and severe risk. We'll have an update on this coming up at about 1:30 today. We'll, if there's any changes with this, but right now we'll go at the window of 1 to 5 when they could pop. But it's not a guarantee you're going to see this secondary round. Some of you may not whatsoever. The rest of the week looks quiet. We get into the Easter holiday. That's when we will likely get a warm front. They'll get draped across the Ohio Valley. And it's a warm front that may get stuck over us into early next week, and that could allow for round after round of thunderstorms to roll in the area, and some of which could be strong, if not severe. So the extended outlook, you can see that blocked off with all the lightning bolts as we into Easter and to about Tuesday next week, could be quite active, but we got time to fine-tune that. In the meantime, our main focus will be just on tonight's rain and wind coming our way, and that small storm chance as we head into the overnight hours, and again Tuesday afternoon there. Myra?
Be good. A little later here on Midday, one Indiana woman is celebrating her 100th birthday while this community has been planning the celebration for months. Tomorrow, the JCPS board will hear the district's presentation on their new transportation plan that some say would leave many schools high and dry. Last month, the district presented 3 options to the public, and now they've narrowed it down to 1 option. That plan would take away busing from magnet and traditional schools. JCPS says that they had to go with it because they don't have enough drivers to cover their routes and get all riders to class on time each day. But those opposed say that this would just make things harder for parents.
We need to be in a position that our daily routes do not exceed our daily drivers available.
For low-income families specifically, the possibility of providing transportation for their magnet students would be substantially low, furthering the educational gap between social classes.
And the district says that they're working with TARC to make sure magnet students would have access to public transportation or they can transfer schools. Coming up on Wave News at noon, after Princess Kate's health update, we're getting a closer look at the support coming in for her from all over the world. An Indiana woman enjoyed a community-wide celebration on her birthday that's been months in the making. Jo Tomes reached a milestone in life, turning 100 years old. Wave News reporter Alina Noakes shows us how it all came together.
The community has come together to celebrate Jo Tomes turning 100 years old.
It was the sound of celebratory sirens rounding the corner in Pekin, Indiana, that ushered Georgia Tomes into a new decade. A grand gesture for a woman fondly known as Grandma Jo, and a testament to how loved she is in the small town and by her late husband, James, who orchestrated it all.
Back in the winter, my grandfather started planning a parade and community celebration in honor of Jo, his wife, and unfortunately he passed away before he could see it come to fruition.
James Tomes passed away in January at 91 years old. He and Georgia had been married since 1988.
He wanted a parade, he wanted the fire department, he made a big sign to go in the back of the truck, and there's a sign posted at the front of the park, so he really wanted to get to celebrate his wife.
The small town made sure James' plans did not go unfulfilled, taking hold of the idea and becoming a party planning committee. Dozens of people joined in to wish Georgia, who was appropriately dressed in a tiara and sparkly sash, a very happy 100th birthday.
I thought it was great. Great. I couldn't ask for any better.
100 years is a whole long time, and so to think about the lives that she's touched and the number of family members that she has is just really, really incredible. And I'm really thankful for everybody who came out today to celebrate her.
And happy birthday to Jo from all of us here at Wave. We'll be right back. A tri-state billboard has everyone wondering how much cheese is too much. Well, if you've been driving near Cincinnati or northern Kentucky, you may have seen this billboard saying that this man is eating 20 pounds of liquid cheese a year, and that, quote, no one can stop him. Northern Kentucky native Jonathan Pittman is the man behind the billboard, and he said that he saw his friend eating mac and cheese one day and took a photo. He said that he decided it would be funny to put his friend's face on a billboard. Pittman would not confirm if his friend actually does eat that much cheese and says that his friend wasn't aware of the billboard ahead of time. Hopefully he loves the billboard as much as he supposedly loves liquid cheese. It's a lot of cheese. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Josh is next for Wave News at noon.